Budget 2026 is approaching and nominal growth has slowed. So, how do you see the fiscal trajectory evolving from here? Should the government lean more towards supporting consumption or continue to focus on capex led growth?
That's an interesting dichotomy you're posing, Sonal. First of all, I would guide many of you, if you have not read Anurag Mittal, our head of fixed income. He wrote about the great fiscal divide just earlier this month. It's a blog that he published. Do look it up on our website. But what that will really highlight to you is very different compared to our previous conversation when we talked about the US. India has actually stayed fiscally disciplined over the last decade, and particularly as we have exited the post-pandemic period. So again, start on the right side. When you see the central government debt to GDP number, you can see over there that the trajectory was very flat between 16 to 20. So, I said we stayed very disciplined. This is, of course, only central government. We're not talking about the states. Then, of course, the pandemic year comes, the fiscal deficit goes up. So your debt to GDP goes up to 60.7%. But every year since then, India has been bringing down the fiscal deficit from a peak which was above 9% of fiscal deficit. This year, we are estimating that it could be somewhere in the region of 4.3 to 4.4% of GDP. So effectively, we have significantly brought down the fiscal deficit. And therefore, now the government is actually saying that they would like to now focus on bringing down debt to GDP. And their target is to bring down debt to GDP by FY31 back to the level of closer to about 50%. So unlike the US, where debt to GDP is expected to climb, in India, we are actually expecting it to actually continue trending lower. Fiscal deficit may or may not trend significantly lower, but debt to GDP will certainly trend lower. That's the government's thought process. So India will remain fiscally disciplined based on the path and trajectory we have articulated for ourselves, unlike perhaps the US and certain other geographies. As far as the breakup of expenditure is concerned, that's a function of how tax revenues play out in the short duration. Keep in mind, Sonal, that in the last 1 year, government already delivered a large income tax cut. Then it delivered a GST cut. Both of these benefits actually flow to consumers. And therefore, to that extent, I would say government has already done a lot for consumption. I believe it would be a very big stretch for government to once again do something on the direct tax front, considering that they have already done something in the previous budget. So my sense is they will stay on the path of discipline, and they will do whatever they can in terms of leaving money in consumer wallets, and they will also do whatever they can in terms of increasing the capex where possible. Because on capex, increasingly one of the insights that we pick up in our conversations with government in Delhi is that there are limitations to the government's ability to do capex beyond a point. They can provide incentives to the private sector to do capex like they did through PLI, and maybe that is what they will continue to do where possible, rather than directly engage in capex, because there is a limited number of sectors in which the government can actually drive capex at this point of time. So I would expect discipline to continue, and I think there will not be much to choose between consumption and capex. Whatever is within their capacity, they will do as much as they can over there.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.